Napoleon was short, Vikings wore horned helmets, and Einstein failed math as a kid. You've probably heard these historical facts your whole life. But guess what? None of them are true. History is full of myths that somehow became common knowledge. From misunderstood translations to straight-up fabrications, some of the most famous facts are actually lies that slipped into the textbooks. So, buckle up as we count down the top 8 famous historical facts that aren't true. Starting off at number 8, you've heard it a million times. The Great Wall of China is the only man-made object visible from space. Sounds epic, right? But it's totally false. From low Earth orbit, about 200 miles up, you can barely see cities, roads, even airports. But the Great Wall, not so much. Is that a wall or a dirt road? The wall is super long, over 13,000 miles, but it's really narrow. It blends in with the mountains and terrain. Plus, it's mostly made of stone, earth, and wood, not exactly glowing neon. This myth goes way back, like centuries. It got popular in Western textbooks and even made its way into TV shows and trivia books. But astronauts themselves, they've been debunking it for years. Nope, we can't see it with the naked eye. Real astronauts probably. So next time someone drops that space fact, hit them with the truth. The Great Wall isn't visible from space. But that myth? Oh, it's out of this world. History is full of awesome stories, just not all of them are true. Coming up next at number 7, did Marie Antoinette really say let them eat cake? Spoiler alert, nope. That famous quote is totally fake. Here's the juicy truth. In the late 1700s, France was on the brink of revolution. People were starving. Bread was scarce. So the story goes, when told that peasants had no bread, Queen Marie Antoinette heartlessly replied, let them eat cake. But plot twist, she never said it. In fact, there's zero historical evidence she ever muttered those words. The quote actually shows up in a book by Jean-Jacques Rousseau when Marie Antoinette was only 9 years old and still living in Austria. So unless she was a time-traveling sass queen, it wasn't her. The phrase was likely pinned on her later by angry revolutionaries trying to paint her as clueless and cruel. It worked, and the myth stuck for centuries. So next time you hear let them eat cake, remember, it's history's most delicious lie. And Marie, she got served, but not cake. Next up at number 6, you've probably heard this in school. Columbus set sail to prove the earth was round. Cool story, right? Well, it's completely false. In 1492, Christopher Columbus sailed west from Spain, and legend says people thought he'd fall off the edge of a flat earth. Dramatic. But here's the twist. Most educated people already knew the earth was round for centuries. Even ancient Greeks figured it out as early as the 6th century BCE. They even estimated Earth's size with surprising accuracy. So what was the issue? Not the shape of Earth, but its size. Columbus thought the Earth was way smaller than it actually is. He believed he could reach Asia by sailing west, but instead of Asia, boom, he landed in the Bahamas. And to the day he died, Columbus never admitted he found a new continent. So no, Columbus didn't prove the Earth was round. He just got super lucky there were 2 whole continents in his way. It's one of history's most repeated myths, but now you know the truth. Up next, at number 5, Nero fiddled while Rome burned. It's one of the juiciest stories from ancient history. The evil Roman emperor watching his city go up in flames while playing a tune. But here's the wild part. It never happened. First of all, fiddles didn't even exist in ancient Rome. Violins wouldn't show up for another 1,500 years. So, unless Nero was some kind of time-traveling musician, that's strike one. Second, Nero wasn't even in Rome when the Great Fire started in 64 AD. He was chilling at his villa in Antium, over 30 miles away. When he heard the news, he rushed back to help. He opened his palaces to the homeless and organized relief efforts. Not exactly the villainous image we've been sold, right? So where did the myth come from? Well, Nero wasn't exactly Mr. Popular. Ancient historians like Tacitus and Suetonius hated the guy. After all, he was known for, murdering his mom and a few other dark things. So painting him as a maniac who strummed music while people screamed? Easy propaganda. Maybe he did sing a tragic song about the burning of Troy, but fiddled while Rome burned? That's just dramatic fiction. So next time someone quotes it, hit him with the truth. Nero didn't fiddle, but his reputation definitely got torched. Halfway there. At number 4, you've seen it in cartoons, movies, even Halloween costumes. Vikings with giant horned helmets charging into battle. But guess what? That's a total myth. I mean, think about it. Running into battle with 2 sharp horns on your head? That's basically asking for a neck injury. Actual Viking helmets were simple, iron, and hornless. Why? Because they were made for fighting, not fashion shows. So where did the horn myth come from? Blame the 1800s opera scene. Yup, Wagner's Ring Cycle put horned helmets on Viking characters to make them look more dramatic. And somehow, we all just ran with it. Theaters loved it. Artists loved it. Hollywood went nuts. And the rest is fake history. Archaeologists have found Viking helmets, but guess what? Not a single one has horns. Zero. Nada. So the next time someone says Vikings wore horned helmets, tell them only if they were trying out for an opera. Vikings were fierce, fearless, but not fashionably horned. Next up at number 3, you've heard this one, right? Albert Einstein failed math in school. Well, what if I told you that's totally false? That's right, one of the most brilliant minds in human history did not bomb his math tests. In fact, Einstein was actually years ahead in math by the time he was a teenager. So where did this wild rumor even come from? Well, it started from a misunderstanding of grades. Einstein went to school in Switzerland, where the grading system used 1 as the lowest score and 6 as the highest. At one point, a biography said he got a 1 in math, but in that system, a 1 actually meant the worst grade. Except someone saw a later report where 6 was the highest, and they flipped it. Boom. Just like that, a myth was born. Einstein the genius became Einstein the flunky. Spoiler alert, by age 12, Einstein was already learning calculus. By 16, he aced entrance exams to Polytechnic school, except for French. Yeah, French, not math. So next time someone says, even Einstein failed math, you can tell them, actually, that's total nonsense. Coming up next, at number 2, you've heard it a million times. Napoleon was short. But guess what? That famous fact is totally wrong. Napoleon Bonaparte was actually around 5'7", pretty average for a Frenchman in the early 1800s. So why do people think he was the size of a garden gnome? Blame it on a measurement mix-up. He was listed as 5'2" in French inches, which are longer than British ones. British historians saw 5'2" and thought he was a pocket-sized emperor. But there's more. British propaganda loved making Napoleon look like a tiny, angry man with a big ego. Because what's funnier than a short dictator trying to conquer Europe? The irony? Napoleon was taller than famous figures like Beethoven and Mozart, yet they don't get roasted for it. So next time someone calls you a Napoleon complex, you can say, thanks, that means I'm perfectly average in height and ambitious. History's full of myths. At last but not least, you've probably heard this one before. Humans only use 10% of their brain. Sounds like you've got a secret superpower just waiting to be unlocked, right? Well, plot twist. That's completely false. The myth exploded in the early 1900s, possibly from a misquote of psychologist William James. He once said we only tap into a small portion of our potential. Motivational speakers, they ran with it like it was gospel. By the time the 90s rolled around, this myth was everywhere. Movies, commercials, books, even Lucy and Limitless made it seem legit. But here's what real neuroscience tells us. We use virtually every part of our brain, just not all at once. Even simple tasks like eating or walking light up multiple regions. Even when you sleep, your brain's active. If we only use 10%, wouldn't a bump on the head rarely matter? So why does this myth stick around? Because it makes us feel like we've got hidden potential, like X-Men or something. Truth is, our brain is amazing. Not because we only use 10%, but because it's already doing so much without us even realizing. So next time someone says, you're only using 10% of your brain, just smile and say, speak for yourself.